Come out of the dark earth, here where the minerals glow in their stone cells, deeper than seed or birth. Come into the pure air, above all heaviness of storm and cloud, to this light-possessed atmosphere. Come into, out of, under the earth, the wave, the air. Love, touch everywhere with primeval candor. Words of the Belgian-American poet, May Sarton. Good morning. I'm so glad that you're able to join us, that you're here in your capacities, however many times you've been here, whether you are a recent attendee, a long-time attendee, or a returning person. We're grateful for your presence here, and I hope that whatever it is that you're looking for in this space might be joy and celebration. It might be tears and sorrow. It might be words of wisdom. It might be a chance to connect with one another. It may simply be just a chance to rest with the divine, howsoever you define it. Whatever your reason for being here, I'm grateful for your presence, and I hope that you'll find it, and I know that you'll find a warm community. Today is our Volunteer Sunday, where we mark the contributions of the congregation and all those who put in the elbow grease to keep this chapel running. I'm delighted that we have such a fantastic team of supporters and people in the congregation to sort of help make sure that it sort of thrives and that it carries on in being a voice of liberal witness to the wider Manchester area. Just as we had those words of May Sarton to light our chalice, we turn to some anonymous words now for our call to worship. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe, to the community, and to each other. Amen. And please join with me in singing our first hymn, number 194 in the Purple Book, David Usher's We Light the Flame, hymn number 194.
Like the flame that burned over
Let us join now into a time of prayer with these words of the Reverend Kathleen McTeague. This is followed by our covenant, which you'll find printed in your order of worship. But first, these words. Here in the refuge of this Sabbath home, we turn our busy minds towards silence and our full hearts toward one another. We move together through the mysteries, the bright surprise of birth and the shadowed questions of death. In our slow walk between the two, we will be wounded and we will be showered with grace, amazing, unending. Even in our sorrows, we feel our lives cradle in holiness we cannot comprehend. And though we each walk within a vast loneliness, the promise we offer here is that we do not walk alone. This is a holy place in which we gather, the light of the earth brought in and held, touched then by our answering light, the flame on a chalice, the flicker of a candle, the lamps of our open faces brought near. In this space of silence and celebration, solemnity and music, we make a sanctuary and name our home. Into this home we bring our hunger for awakening. We bring compassionate hearts and a will towards justice. Into this home we bring the courage to walk on after hard losses. Into this home we bring our joy and gratitude for ordinary blessings. By our gathering, we bless this place. In its shelter, we know ourselves blessed. Amen. And please join with me in reading our covenant. We gather here in sacred fellowship to witness the fullness of our lives and all life, to hold and be held, tell stories and listen, to be renewed and renew the world. We speak with care and patience. We act with gentleness and compassion. We forgive each other and ourselves. In faith that we build beloved community, we renew our covenant today. Amen. Now, today's story is based on a Russian folk tale called The Gigantic Turnip. Unfortunately, I don't have a gigantic turnip, so we had to change it to the gigantic celeriac. Although, actually, to be perfectly frank with you, it's not particularly gigantic. It's a fairly average size for a celeriac, which, I mean, if you imagine it being a turnip, it actually would be quite massive. So, anyway, I'm getting ahead of the story, though. So let's begin at the beginning. And it's about a farmer who, of course, is setting out to till his land and plant and water and wait through the summer to see what riches the bounty of the harvest in the autumn might bring. And of particular note is this celeriac seed that he planted. And he watched over the summer the flowering of the celeriac above the soil, growing and growing and growing. And just a bit, he could see it sort of coming out of the soil, just month and month and month, until it was absolutely massive. And he could tell by the size of the leaves just how huge it must have been underneath the ground, this celeriac. And he thought, well, that's going to be quite a challenge to get out. And sure enough, harvest comes. He's getting the vegetables as quick as he can, and he's doing all right because most of them are fairly average sized. No problem whatsoever. But then he keeps looking at this gigantic flowering celeriac, and he knows it's going to be a struggle, but he's going to put in all of his might and all of his energy in trying to get it out. So he grabs it, and he pulls, and he pulls, and he pulls, and it doesn't come out. He's exhausted. So he rests for the rest of the day, goes to sleep, tries to think about what to do. More of the sort of greenery had come out, though, as he was pulling it. And so he went the next day to his neighbor and asked his neighbor whether he might be willing to help. So, neighbor, are you willing to help? Thank you. So, why don't you come on? I've got this massive celeriac. I'm trying to get it out, and it's not budging. So maybe if you hold on to this end, and I hold on to this end, and we pull, and again, and again, oh. It's not budging. And I'm exhausted. I'm so excited I need to get it. Thank you so much, neighbor. So he went to sleep. The next day he no, you're not finished yet. The next day he asked another neighbor. Now, do I have any other neighbors on the other side, perhaps? Oh, come on! Someone must be strong enough to help get this celeriac out. Joe, you think you might be? Oh, Carl, yeah.
I'm taking photographs.
Right. So, you think the three of us? Okay, you go. You on that in. Yeah. You grab the middle. And we're pulling, and we're pulling, and we're pulling, and we're pulling, and hey! So, thank you, neighbors, for all your help and contributions. So, with hard work and the team, and they had, the three of them all had a fantastic celeriac stew that night, and for many nights thereafter. So, the gigantic celeriac in this circumstance. You have a chance to share your own celeriacs, your own challenges, your own joys, whatever it is that is deep within you and you want to get out. Your joys and sorrows, your trials and triumphs. If you wish to share these publicly, you can light a candle. If you have a few words to say, come to the microphone. I'm afraid the chat isn't on today, so we hold the people online and our prayers wherever they may be, physically and emotionally in their lives. You can light a candle in silence, as always, and if you want to remain seated, holding your life in your heart, know that your presence here is enough. I'm going to light a candle for our staff member, Michael, who gave a wonderful recital on Friday, really just joyful and fun. And I'm just really grateful for his and everyone's sort of contributions, music and otherwise, to the life of this chapel.
So yesterday was my sister's first anniversary of her death, and so I'm lighting this for her and for her family, and that we always keep in our memory the positive contribution she made to all of our lives.
I'm lighting a candle for all those at war and affected by wars. Yesterday, I took part in a CrossFit race. If you know High Rocks, it's sort of like a very kind of slightly reduced version of that my gym kind of did their own version with. As it's something I've been training for since the end of July, and I kind of managed to do it yesterday with a respectable time of 76 minutes. So there's definitely more of the slower people who took part, but still nice to prove that I can actually do it. But it's a nice little reminder to me as well that because I have a working body, it's a privilege to be able to actually move in the first place. And it's just I feel like it's good to be able to move.
For all those joys and sorrows here spoken, and those that remain silently in our hearts. Let us join together in singing our second hymn, number 35, Find a Stillness, words translated by Carl Seberg. Thank you. We come now to our next reading, which is entitled The Church Where Everything Goes Wrong, by the Reverend Alea Kemmler. I've actually read this a couple of times, but it was a few years ago, and I was reminded about it by a colleague who used it just a few months ago. And it felt appropriate for our Volunteer Sunday, though don't take any offense by that comment, as I'm sure it will be edifying, I will say, by the end, I assure you. So this is Alea Kemmler's The Church Where Everything Goes Wrong. 6 weeks into the church year, I have realized that I am the minister of a church where things usually go wrong. This morning, the copy machine jams repeatedly. The bulletin describing the order of worship has been copied with the second page first and also upside down. No one has remembered to turn on the lights in the sanctuary before the service, so it is dark because it is raining outside. The microphone is buzzing and lets out a painful, high-pitched squeal, which makes people wince. We have just started the service when someone runs up with a bunch of flowers for the altar, just as someone else runs in with one of the silk arrangements we keep for the mornings when no one brings real flowers. There is laughter as the two flower bearers meet at the altar. They decide on the real flowers, and things settle down for a while until a baby starts crying, which sets off another baby crying. I try to speak over the wailing as their fathers hustle them down the aisle and try to distract them in the back. Usually I love watching the tall, gentle fathers who bounce their babies in backpacks at the rear of the sanctuary, but today I am annoyed because I want it to be quiet and holy and lovely, and things are definitely not shaping up that way. The woman who is helping with worship gets up and instead of giving the announcements, introduces the candle lighting time, which comes later. People call out, "Not yet!" More laughter. The organist starts playing the wrong hymn, and a couple of choir members yell over the din for him to stop. A few minutes later, during the period of prayerful silence, he accidentally falls onto the keyboard, causing the organ to emit horrible, gassy noises. Shrieks and snorts of laughter. It's good to take precautions. As I said, don't take any offense. All pretense of Sunday morning decorum is lost, and something inside of me, some furious, bossy desire to have my worship service go according to my plan, finally slides free, and I can laugh with them. This will be the first of many times that I laugh at Sunday morning details gone awry. It is also the first of many times that I imagine that God is watching, looking up or down or over or out at us from wherever God sits on Sunday mornings, slightly amazed and maybe at a loss for words, because we, God's people, are so funny and wonderful and odd all at the same time. In moments like these, I imagine God as a sturdy old woman with her hands on her hips, or perhaps as a rabbi pulling on his long white beard. I imagine a God shaking his or her head and saying, "What in the world are they doing over there? This is what they call church? What were they thinking?" But I also imagine a God who is touched and maybe a little honored by our efforts, however halting, to worship and give praise. I imagine a God who is moved by our attempts to care for one another and to name the things we name as holy. There is a warmth in this congregation that is new to me, a simple friendliness that shines through the fumblings and failings, a love that makes the ragged edges smooth. I have always wanted to believe, really believe, that our mistakes aren't the most important part of us. I have always wanted to believe that kindness and compassion matter more than anything. And I sense that I can learn this here. The Church Where Everything Goes Wrong by Alea Kemmler. To recognize our volunteers and those who've contributed over the past year in all dealings with the chapel, we have now, as what would sort of be a prayer, our responsive reading, recognition of volunteers, a litany by J. Libby. So I will read the opening text, and then if you wish to respond with the bold. When there was a need, you came forward. In the nighttime or daytime, on weekends, and even in the coldest, darkest part of the year, you helped. Elected and duly appointed, or quietly, anonymously, and unbidden, you did what needed doing. Sometimes with the help of many hands, other times alone, you worked. You gave your time, talent, and even your treasure for the life of the congregation. Your families and your loved ones supported you in your efforts, worried for you when things piled up, and perhaps grumbled at you for the extent of your commitment. And so we thank your families and loved ones. For all things great and small you have given this congregation, we take time today to recognize, to thank you, and to honor you. Thank you all. We now enter into a period of silence for reflection, meditation, contemplation, and personal prayer. Thank you, Aaron. Let us sing now our next hymn in the Purple Book, number 56, God Who Stretched the Spangled Heavens, by Catherine Cameron, hymn number 56. When I was about 4 or 5, maybe 6 at the latest, my family's electric can opener broke. I know this because I have a very distinct memory of it happening when we were in our home in Flint before we moved out to our next town. And there was something in me, some driving force that some calling almost, that made me ask, can I have it? Can I have your broken electric can opener? And my parents asked why I wanted it, and I said I wanted to take it apart. And they were very obliging. They gave it to me. I borrowed my dad's tools, and I went to my bedroom. And I set about to do that, sitting on the floor. I remember taking out a Phillips head screwdriver, undoing the screws, taking out a monkey wrench, undoing the bolts, and taking it out of the taking that casing off to see what was inside. And it was astounding, for a 4 or 5 or maybe 6-year-old's mind to see these gears all sort of interweaving, to see this sort of like a giant glob of grease, because they presumed that it was going to sort of carry on, I suppose, much longer than it had, and to see all sorts of wires sort of connecting one bit to another, and motors and switches. It was astounding, for a 4 or 5 or 6-year-old. It was exciting. It was ecstasy at that age, and I know that because for the next decade, I would get broken appliances for birthday presents. My trips out would be to the tip or to a junk store or a flea market, and I would be over the moon. I would love it. Anything that broke, I would instantly ask about having it so I could take it apart, so I could see the inner workings. It was never about fixing it. It was never about putting it back together. But for about 10 years, it was a great fascination that I absolutely loved. I was absolutely hooked. As an adult, I don't take things apart much, and if I do, then it is usually some unmeasured sense of bravado that I actually can fix it. I have hits and misses, probably more misses than I would acknowledge. I don't take things apart to see how they work. No, instead, usually I take them apart to understand why they don't. And I know I'm not alone in this, at least the childhood version of this. Children seem to be absolutely lovely, love steam trains, love clocks. They're just drawn to these sort of mechanical things. I think some of it is this awareness of cause and effect, that they have this realization that if I push this button, then that will happen. Or if I turn this dial, then that sort of second hand will move. It's astounding to think, it's something I imagine we lose, but it's astounding to think just how physically connected the world is. Every electron in our mobile phones bumping against the next, just to sort of get out an email or to watch a video about a cat. Children have this sort of appreciation of the world that we don't, and we often describe it as a sense that it's the newness of the world, that they come in, they're not old and weathered like us. They haven't had decades of seeing cause and effect happen. So it's all new, and it must all be wonderful and spectacular. That's the way that we often describe it. But there's another view as well. And this was made clear to me in an interview that Terry Jones from Monty Python did. He directed a version of The Wind in the Willows in the mid-'90s. It wasn't actually sort of that. I don't want to say it wasn't well received. It just didn't. I think it was critically acclaimed, but it didn't pull in as much in the box office as they expected. And in this version of Wind in the Willows, he harkens back to this old British tradition, theatrical tradition, of having the actors sort of appear very human and have sort of slight animal qualities. So it's very clear that it's an actor wearing ears, or maybe they've had their makeup done and have some whiskers up for their nose, or in the case of Mr. Toad, just painted completely green, but still very obviously an actor. He was asked why he took that approach, and why he thought that sort of children would appreciate it. And he said, when you go into a dining room, the first thing you see is the table. And you look at it, and you look down on it, and you can see the table, and that's what it is. It's a table. But when a child comes in to look at a table, they see the underside, because they're much smaller than us. They come in, and they're looking up at the underside of the table. And suddenly, it's not just a table, but it has all of these struts, and these supports, and these wing nuts. I gelled with this comment because another sort of enduring memory of my childhood was the underside of my parents' table. I remember very clearly, these wing nuts, which I hadn't really seen much before, holding up the corners. And I remember this long wire with a hoop on the end that you would pull, and almost as if by magic, 2 extra leaves of wood would come out so you could expand the table for special events like Thanksgiving or Easter. So Terry Jones, suggests that childhood isn't, it's not just a sense of newness, but it's a sense of perspective. They see the underside of the table, whereas we see it from the top. And for us, it's just a table. In fact, probably the only thing that we might sort of realize or notice on the underside of the table is if there's a piece of gum sticking there. As I know there are on some of these chairs, though I suspect it's no one here. I'm reminded of this particularly because Thomas has found a fascination with city gum. Whenever we're on the tram, I have to really keep my eye out because he will just discover that little piece under a chair. So anyway, that's the table. That's the two perspectives of the table: the adult version of looking over it and the childhood version of looking under it. But it doesn't just apply to tables. Let's look at the chapel. What is it when we would think of as that adult view of the chapel? If we're just looking at it and we just think, well, that's the chapel. It might be the worship. We have these 2 services a week, our Wednesday service and our Sunday service. It could be the events that we put on, our Heritage Open Day next week, the music recitals that are booming and becoming ever more flowery every year. It could be groups that we attend, such as our Faith and Life group. It could be the fundraising that the chapel does throughout the course of the year and special events to bring in money for very important and good causes. It might be other forms of outreach, such as marching in Pride, or going out and representing our values in different groups, like the Challenging Hate Forum. Maybe it's outreach by bringing people in, by having our lessees be people who share values with us, and for whom we can provide this space at a lower cost so that they can flourish. That's the things that we would see on the top of the table as an adult. But take your mind now to sort of a childhood and imagine sort of what you would see if you came in and you saw the church from the underside. What's underneath the chapel? What is supporting it? And the ultimate answer is people. Because we need people to greet. We need people to prepare the tea and coffee. We need people to get the hymn numbers up, to fold the programs. We need people serving on the chapel committees. We need people serving on other committees. I mentioned outreach and going out. People who run groups. So those people are all the things that actually help sustain the program of the church, which is, I think, for us a very active and good program that's reaching ever further into Manchester and providing support and care for the dispossessed, for the hungry and the lost. Just like Alea Kemmler's church, sometimes things go wrong. But just like her reading, it reminds us that there are humans behind the task. Fallible humans, good humans, human humans. It's a reminder that people are the foundation and the struts that keep the church going. And that's why I love this sort of volunteer service, to be a recognition of everyone's contribution and service that they bring to the chapel. It's important then to make sure that our volunteers feel supported, that they feel like there's something underneath them that can provide for the challenges that they might face. Because just as there's 2 views of a table, just like there's 2 views of church, there also will be 2 views of a person. There's that adult tablehood version of our lives when we go out and someone says, "Are you okay?" And we say, "Yeah, fine." That version that goes to a party, opens the door with a bright, big smile, ready to make small talk and be congenial with everyone else. And then there's the childhood version that understands that just like, there's a church where everything goes wrong, there might be times when life feels like everything has gone wrong. Just like there's a broken can opener, we might feel like there's a broken heart. My own time at university, especially the first year, was very challenging. I felt lost and homesick, overwhelmed. I felt like, suddenly from being a big fish in a small pond to suddenly being a minnow in the ocean, as the expression goes. And my chapel provided that support that I'm talking about, provided the struts and the community for me to gain in confidence and to feel appreciated for who I was. It was a place of support, just like I hope this is a place of support for many people. You'll hear the preachers in Piccadilly and Market Street talking about how you need the church, how they might tell they don't always sort of describe it as sin nowadays. There's sort of robust care that is put to make sure that that street preachers aren't sort of hate mongering as much as they have in the past. But they do, they are trying to be very vocal to the people on the street who are just out shopping, just out having a ball, meeting with friends, to tell them that they need the church, that something is wrong in their life and that they need the church. I'm not saying that here. I'm saying the church needs you. Okay? If you've come to the chapel at a point of crisis, I hope you'll feel that support, and I hope you'll feel cared for. But also the church needs you. If you've come feeling lost, and you find a community of like-minded people where you can engage in warm and joyous conversation, I hope you also know that the church needs you. If you come feeling like something in your life is overwhelming, and this is a place where you can get a grip on it, I hope you can find that, and I hope you know that the church needs you. We need your gifts and your wholeness and your humanness, so our community can come together, not just for the chapel and for each other, but for the wider world, for some greater purpose, that we might imbue compassion further and further into the world. I'll close just with these words of the Reverend John Engel James. I am but one, but I am one. I cannot do much, but I can do something. And all I can do, I ought to do. And by God's grace, I will do. Amen. You have a few notices in the inserts in your order of worship. Speaking of the church where things go wrong, you'll notice that the justification for the word October was spread over 2 lines. So that's my contribution to our wrongness today. We have a communion after today's service. Our communion, they usually take sort of about 10 or so minutes. It's open to everyone, but no one is required to take it. I'll speak more on the specifics when we get to it, but it will be after Aaron's postlude. If you wish to remain in the chapel to participate, that's great. If you wish to go through for the tea and coffee, then that's okay too. Next week, we have Heritage Open Day. We'll have a service marking it at 10:45, and then the big event is happening at 12:30 to 4:30. There will be tours, there will be sort of curios and items on display. Speaking of volunteers, I'm sure we'll be grateful to have many hands on deck for that. And then at the end of the month, we have a recital with Joanna Lung and Henry Page. That's at 1 p.m. on the last. Oh, sorry, thank you. Yeah, with a different accompaniment. Joanna Lung still on clarinet. Chi-Chi Lee, thank you, on piano. So that's 1 p.m. on Friday the 26th. Our recitals are free to attend, but we're grateful for your contributions. Then the 27th, Saturday, I am preaching at Rivington as part of their triennial pilgrimage. Booking is required. There's a meal involved. It starts at 12:30. So please do join us for that. If you need transport, please let us know. It'd be fantastic to get as many people from Cross Street over there as possible. And a chance to get out of the city, get out into the countryside. It's going to be beautiful and lovely. And then, as if that's not enough church for you that weekend, Sunday we have we're going to have a climate workshop on the 28th. This will be a chance to explore issues regarding climate grief, our own sort of challenges we might face in combating it, but hopefully ending on a positive note and a sense of hope and action that we may be able to do. There's also on Monday, for women, the Manchester District Women's League is seeking to restart, and so they're having an event that afternoon. I have more details on that it's been conveyed to us via our own Ann Peart. So please let me know if you'd be interested in that. A couple of quick other events, I promise, and then we'll get to our final hymn. Tomorrow at the Manchester Multi-Faith Center in Hume, is where Faith Network for Manchester meets. They're having an interfaith dialogue at 7:45 to 9 in the evening called Religion and Politics Should Not Be Mixed, or Should They? Should faith leaders be the moral conscience of politicians? So I have more details for that. Again, it would be very helpful if you're attending that to book. And then the Faith Network will also be having, I think it's their final Faith in the Arts exhibition workshop at John Ryland's Library on Tuesday the 16th from 2 to 4. I think there will be other notices as well, but I think those are the important ones for this month at least, and then you can see some upcoming as well. Are there any announcements or notices from the congregation? Yes, Joe.
The evening of Sunday 28th, 6 o'clock is the first
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Dean Rowe. Thank you. Yes, at Dean Rowe in Wilmslow, they'll be having an interfaith service in the evening on the 28th. Please do join them for that. Let us then sing our final hymn number at 198 in the Purple Book, We'll Build a Land by Carolyn McDade, hymn number 198. Thank you, Aaron, for that fantastic music. Thank you, Sonia, for these beautiful flowers. Thank you, Catherine, for the IT. Do we have anyone to help with tea and coffee today? Thank you, Carl, for the tea and coffee that we're about to enjoy. And thank you and Aaron for being good neighbors and helping me pull out that celeriac. And thank you to everyone for creating and sharing worship today. We close with these words of Jack Croiser. May we have eyes that see, hearts that love, and hands that are ready to serve, for we would take our part as good neighbors in this wide world. Amen.